You're 18, now what? Thank you for joining me on this great Tuesday. I'm Dr. Catherine Gilstein, and I am looking forward to empowering you with information about financial literacy and economic empowerment. I will continue to post on the second and fourth Tuesday of the month, but I will be adding to my podcast since I've had such great interviews lined up. Today, I am joined by Lee Norwood, and Lee is an expert in the field of college admissions, which can be so scary and so much information. So, Lee, thank you so much for joining us. Give us a little bit background about you.
Well, hey, I'm really happy to be here because, I work with kids up until they're 18. So now what, right? So I am
Mhm.
a college consultant. And I think in my elevator pitch, I would say I lower stress for families as they move through the college admissions process. I save mother-daughter relationships. College has changed a lot. I don't believe anyone needs to pay full price for college, but you have to do your due diligence and you have to understand the process and you need to not follow the herd. So after 23 years of pharmaceutical sales, I decided I really prefer teenagers to physicians, and I work with sophomores, juniors, and seniors. And then we also just developed another platform where kids can get a DIY platform with us guiding them along, because everything about college feels expensive and we just want to help people clear the air, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, navigating it is so difficult, not only for the student that doesn't know what to expect, but also for the parent that doesn't know what to expect, especially when it's your first child. And I even know, having my fourth child in college now, the process never gets easier because the platform's always changing. So let's start with the college admissions process. When should people start looking at colleges? What is ideal?
Okay, so that's kind of a two-part question. When should
Mhm.
you start looking at colleges? All the time. Anytime you go on vacation, if there's a college there, drive through, start getting your student and your family aware of other schools outside of the usual suspects. If you tell me where you live, I can tell you the top 10 schools that all the kids are applying to. So you want to really open up your mind. When the kids get older, in their teens, once they're driving, etc., you can do the official tour and info session at schools, because then it becomes more relevant to them. But yeah, check out all kinds of schools. They're beautiful and it's an exciting thing to do. When should you start getting serious about the college process? That's a different question. I work with lots of kids. I would love to meet you the summer before junior year. Okay.
Mhm.
Junior year is your most important year. Last full year of college, we'll be able to see of what you're doing. However, there's always that outlier. There's that family that, they will shame the family if they don't get into an Ivy. Those kinds of kids who are really going for what we call highly selective schools, which means their admissions rate is less than 10%. They need to start a
Right.
little bit earlier, because when you're in line for Vanderbilt, everybody's got
Mhm.
great SATs. Everybody's got great GPA. Everybody took the hardest possible courses. So then you
Right.
need to figure out, how the
How do you
heck do I
stand
look
out?
different? Yeah, how do I look
Yeah.
different?
How do I stand out?
Mhm.
Absolutely. And how do you navigate for working with students and their parents and helping them to stand out if they're in that less than 10% pool of schools that they're looking at?
Okay, that's a great question. And it used to be like, oh, well, how are you going to look different? Recently, I guess about 2 years ago, Harvard came out with a study. They had to pull the curtain back on how they chose who gets in and who doesn't. Harvard had to expose their super secret admissions policy. So they rank kids on a 4-to-1 scale, one being the best. So when they looked at it retrospectively, kids with fours, it was kind of a line that was kind of flat. Kids that got a 3, kind of flat. Kids that got a 2 went up a little mountain, and kids that got a 1 was like a major spike. Those were the kids that were getting in. And what was the difference? Because they all had, again, perfect test scores, all of the things that
Right.
you would think are right. And it was a
Mhm.
research project. It was doing research. It was more than just shadowing a physician because you think you want to go to med school. It was really digging in, sometimes even being published. And that just seems so far distant to some families. Like, what are you talking about? How would I even do that? But it's the reality of things. And I can send it to you. You can link it in the show notes, that study. I think it's just really cool to see the data behind it. Yep, got to do a research project.
Wow. And a research project at the high school level, that's kind of crazy because you don't think of something like that at all.
Well, sometimes if a student's in like a STEM specific school or an engineering pathway, they may have a project, or they did Model UN and they had some certain project. But I mean, I have kids who like split genomes of fetal pigs and things like that, and worked to try to have stem cells turn into a pancreas. Stem cells want to become a heart. Isn't that interesting? That's what they want to be if you extract stem cells and let them grow. They want to be a heart. How do you make them a pancreas? Weird things like that. But those opportunities are out there. And then, of course, since that study came out, now there's companies all over popping up saying, hey, we can help you do a research project. You know, you don't have to pay to play. You could have a really inquisitive kid that does a research project on their own. And that can also be like, you know, taking Boy Scouts, Eagle Scouts to another level, a higher level. We're calling it research, but really it's diving deeper into whatever you're doing. And it may be bird banding at a super high level in every national park in the country.
Experiential experiences.
Totally.
Those learning experiences are definitely a huge portion. Okay, so we have our students, we have our families, we've narrowed it down to like the top 4 schools that we want to go to. What's the next process? What about
if you
all
can
that
narrow it down to 4
paperwork?
schools? I want you on my team if you can narrow it down to 4 schools. I mean,
4
these kids,
schools,
I'm like,
4
I'm not
schools.
looking past 10. I'm not doing it. You can't love 10 men. You can't love 10 colleges. It's just
no.
So I'll quiz it back to you. What do you think the number one thing is that college admissions reps look for when they open that student's file? What do you think the number one thing is?
Oh my gosh, no clue. Honestly, no clue, because there's just so much stuff in the file. And like you said, the SAT scores are there, the AP courses are there, the internships are there. So
I'll tell you the answer. The answer is your curriculum, your transcript. What did you take? What classes did you take? I don't care if you got straight A's and you were all in the lowest level of classes. We want to look at what classes did you take? Because that shows course rigor. How far did you push your math? How far did you push your English, depending on what your interests are? Then how did you do in those classes? So it's great to have a weighted GPA. Sounds real good on the sidelines to everybody that, you know, Sally has a 4.3, but some
doesn't exist at the college level.
Yeah.
Doesn't exist at the college level. I don't know why they do it to high school students. I think it's terrible, because you get out of high school with a 4.8 and you think you're, you know, this great student, and then you get to college and you're struggling for a B-, because it's just different. So I guess it would depend on the school that you go to, if you took AP courses. And I think the AP courses, even though they are weighted, I think the AP courses are that honors English, that honors math, that honors history, microeconomics at the high school level, and really pushing the boundaries for what you're learning, and not just taking, you know, basic calculus 1.
Right. And, you know, but they're also going to level the playing field. Your school may not offer Calc BC or Calculus 3 or integrative equations. The reps who read your application in that first round are typically very familiar with the territory they manage. So your state is probably in their territory. They will know this public high school has all these AP classes, so honors classes put you on a 4.5 scale and AP classes put you on a 5.0 scale, which is how you get the pop. Who cares? That higher GPA is only for class rank. That's all it's for. So they pull it back down. They look at your unweighted GPA based on what your school offered and what you took in those 5 core classes: math, English, science, social studies, and foreign language. So they would love to see 4 years of the 5 core classes Everybody will say, oh, but wait, I finished Spanish in 11th grade. We get it. Some middle schools kind of encroach.
Right.
But that is what your strongest students have. Then your SAT scores or your ACT scores, and schools don't care which. And are those consistent with your grades? The number one grade given right now in the United States education system at the high school level is an A. You and I struggled to get A's. We didn't get A's just handed to us. We didn't get pity 50s if we didn't turn things in. So there's a lot of grade inflation. So it goes back to the original question was your transcript is the first thing they're going to look at. What did you take? How did you do?
So what does
How
the
did you do?
curriculum look like?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Fair. Very, very interesting. But I can definitely see the importance of it, because just because you got straight A's doesn't mean you took anything challenging. So
It doesn't mean you
did
learned anything. Oh my
yeah.
God,
So
is that awful to say?
did you challenge yourself? Did you push yourself? That all makes perfect sense. Once you decide on a school, forms. Do you help students with forms? Because I know forms can be overwhelming for the process.
Right. So when I went to college in the 80s, they were looking for well-rounded students, and you applied on the college's application, right? So a lot of parents will say, when I went to college, XYZ, it's different now. So they have the common application, they have a coalition application, and then you have the regular schools application. What the Common App did is it grabbed all that information that colleges, about 1,000, 1,200 schools, want to see into one bag. So now a student can fill out one application that can go to the majority of the schools they want to go to. So forms, a lot of that, the Common App, it opens August 1st every year. So our class of 2026 becomes a senior on August 1st. That Common App will have their personal information. I don't help them fill that out, but it does have their honors and awards. Then those are things that you've done academically. It has your activities with a truncated 150 character description of what you did. Oh my goodness. So you really need to make sure those are strong and in a really good order. And then it's going to put your personal essay in there. And then there's an additional information section if you want to add anything. Those are the things that common application. It's common to the schools that accept it. Then when you add the schools that you want to apply to the Common App, they have additional questions. Texas and California also have their own applications, so you don't do the Common App for Texas state schools or California state schools. So for the most part, we're playing in the arena of the Common Application. And yes, we'll review it. Everybody should have a copy of their transcript right now. You should be making sure what you're putting into the Common App is what's on your transcript, and you should make sure your transcript's right. Because let's say your school puts your SAT score on your transcript and you wanted to go test optional, they can't unsee it. So really go back to that transcript again and just make sure that that's right.
Make sure. Yeah, and always double check that. So the Common Application, is all of that done through College Board?
Commonapp.org.
Commonapp.org. Okay.
Commonapp.org. And your kids are going to come home and they're going to talk to you about College Board with the testing, the SAT. They're going to talk about ACT. It's standalone. The Common App is commonapp.org. It does talk to the SATs. You can have your tests sent. And then your school has its own platform, whether it's Power School or Naviance or Score. And all of those systems will talk together, but don't stress out about that. That happens. We got you on that. But filling it out correctly is right. And then you go to school specific stuff. And then you go to the FAFSA, which comes down to the money. And I like to lead with that, because if your student is fabulous and they work really hard and they get into Dartmouth, and then you see the $87,000 price tag and say, nope, I am not paying that. That kid just went through a lot of emotion, a lot of different things to get into a school that I could have told them from the beginning, if you get in, this is what it's going to cost. So just, you've got to kind of clear the way and understand who's going to lower tuition because they want your super great kid, and who has super great kids standing behind yours, so yours isn't special anymore. And that's a hard message to send, but we could fill all the Ivies with just the top student at every single high school, we could fill them 3 times over. So you have to really put some perspective to it.
No, absolutely. And I know cost is a huge factor. And I think it's important to note for listeners and parents out there that if your child is considering a med school or a law school, maybe spend a little bit less on the undergrad and then more on the med school or the law school. So I know that's what I've really helped students with in the past. Is that,
I love
if you
that.
just,
It's playing the long game. And they haven't
yeah,
even been alive for the long game yet, right? They're 17.
right,
And you're saying
absolutely.
you need to be the top of your class in college to get into the med school. So why would you shoot the whole wad trying to go to the hardest school that you possibly
Correct.
can and pay all that money in undergrad? And John Hopkins can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that last year they only took 4 of their own pre-med students. 4.
Wow.
So
Wow.
all that money into going to
Mhm.
Hopkins, one of the top schools in
Mhm.
the country, and then you can't get into their med school. ECU will
Mhm.
only take North Carolina students into their dental program, and only if you're willing to be a rural dentist in rural North Carolina. That's the kind of stuff you need to know before you play the long game.
Yeah, I think it's really important to research the schools that you're interested in and go from there. I remember when one of my daughters was looking at colleges, and she always said as a kid, "Oh, I want to go to NYU. I want to go to NYU." Well, NYU was a fortune.
Yep.
When it came time to go to college, she found out that NYU did not offer what she wanted as a major because it was not what she wanted. And she wound up going to St. John's in Queens, which is an amazing school. And they wound up giving her scholarship upon scholarship, where the cost of St. John's was the same as in-state tuition, had
Yes.
she been in-state tuition. And we lived out of state, so it was definitely a plus. And I think that's important too to look at. What schools are you applying to? What schools are accepting you? And then based on what is accepting you, what school's giving you the best package?
Right. And don't look at that first number
Mhm.
as the main sticker price. Private schools elevate their costs so that they can give more merit aid. Public
They have
schools,
they have
NYU,
bigger endowments. They can
yeah,
do that. Absolutely.
NYU's running close to the
Mhm.
bone every day. They have a couple
Yep.
presidential scholarships, but they are here for New York students, and they want either going to give you a nice in-state price because you pay taxes, but after that, it's very slim. So it also matters which state you're looking at, how many high school students does their education system push out that are actually going to go to college. Mississippi and Alabama, those high school seniors, their percentages of being college bound are way lower than those in the Northeast. So they have more in-state spots to give to out-of-state kids. That's the whole game. That is why I'm in business, I guess, because I see hundreds of schools and I'm on top of things like that. And who's going to give money because your student is smart and they want you? I say it's kind of like Louis Vuitton. They don't go on sale. Louis doesn't go on sale. If you want
Right.
it, save up and buy it. But Coach goes on sale,
Absolutely.
and it's still a fabulous bag. Sometimes you can find it at TJ Maxx. If you're looking at
True.
Louis Vuitton schools,
Mhm.
they're not dropping their price. Coach
Mhm.
schools, they are. And then you can go to a knockoff and get the best education of your entire life, graduate at the top of your class, and get a scholarship to Harvard Med School, right? Lots of different ways to
Absolutely.
skin the cat.
No, I think it's really important to know, because there are just so many nuances with just looking for colleges, finding colleges, seeking them out. And you can say, "Oh my gosh, I love this school. I love this school" on paper because you did all your research.
Yep.
And then when you take the road trip and you're there and you're walking around, you're like, doesn't feel good. You know what I mean? So you need to feel it. It's kind of, I don't know, when you buy your house, you walk through houses and you could just feel the one that you want to live in. And the same thing for colleges. You're going to be there for a number of years, so you need to feel comfortable. And I've seen it happen time and time to students where they thought they wanted to go to this one school, and once they got on campus, didn't feel right. I mean, my own daughter, she was signed up to go to Johnson and Wales, paid the deposit, looked at it and everything, ready to go, and 2 weeks later, we get a postcard in the mail from Rider University, and my husband's like, Brittany, let's go check it out. Let's just see. Went to Rider, took the drive over from PA to Jersey, right, literally 45 minutes from the house. So
Right.
close enough to home, but far enough away.
Right.
And they're walking on campus, and she's like, Daddy, I'm really sorry. You already paid the deposit for Johnson Wales. He goes, I don't care. If you feel you belong here, go here. And
Exactly.
ended up going to Rider. She met her husband there, so it was the right choice.
That's so, so cool. And there's, every school has a net price calculator on their website. None of them are completely accurate, but I do suggest that you do it because there's two kinds of ways to get money for college. There's merit for being the student that they want. They'll lower their price because they want you. They're going to go on sale because they want you to buy them. But then there's need-based aid, and the middle class gets squeezed. We don't make enough money to just pay for college straight up and have it not hurt. And we're not low income enough that we get those grants.
We make too much. Exactly.
Yeah. So we're just squashed in the middle. So that's where you really have to have a come to Jesus talk with yourself about what you want to spend and broaden your views about where to go. My daughter went to NC State. We were out of state. They offered her a tremendous package because they wanted girls in engineering. They were growing their program. So she went there. She ended up doing grad school at NYU and in France. There's certificate programs now. There's lots of ways to skin this cat. So she got to go to that expensive NYU. It was awesome for her. It was 6 months in the city, but it was part of a 2-year program with Schema, a school in France. And the price was so much lower than if she'd gone to NYU from the beginning, right?
Straight in. Yes.
So her trajectory, it almost feels uncomfortable coming out of my mouth. It feels rather bougie, but it didn't cost bougie. We just went around. No one else from her high school went to the same college she did. She didn't follow the herd because we had price parameters set up in the beginning. And I urge everyone to really understand that you cannot finance your retirement. You can finance college, and you can also look at other schools and take a different track than the usual suspects.
I think that's such an important conversation. And I've also met parents that say, oh, my kid is going here, going here, going here. You need to have the conversation with your kid. You need to find out where they want to go to school, what they want to study, because you don't want to send them to school to study something that they're not interested in, because they're just going to be regretting it later on. I mean, I happen to be fortunate that my undergrad is in finance. My MBA is in business. My PhD is in business and technology. I've basically spent 20 years in finance, in retail banking, in annuities and investments. And now I'm in academia teaching business. So I've stayed in the same field because I love it so much. And I think that that's really important. And a lot of kids just, they just want to go to school, get a degree, and get out and make money. But you have to really think about what you want long term. You're going to be working for a really long time.
And they don't know that. So you're 18. Now what? Well, guess what? Now you need to step up to the plate. Most students change their major, but you need to know if that college that you're looking at allows you to change your major easily. Or are you going now for 5 years because you didn't do the research on the front end? That's expensive.
Absolutely.
So you have to look at those things. There are wonderful undecided programs. I will tout NC State's because my kid went there, so I know it like the back of my hand. These kids on the exploratory track live together their freshman year. They meet with their advisor once a week, and they are exposed through their extra classes. They're getting their core classes, right? But their extra classes exposed to everything that state can offer. Maybe you want to do nutrition, farming, tobacco, engineering, design. And they come out of that first year having that really thoughtful process. It's not the only school that does that. So not knowing what major you want is okay, but you have to have an intentional first year. It's not about keggers and smoking weed in your room. It's about getting out, taking advantage of everything that the college offers. And then I giggle when I say this, but like, if you don't really know what you want to do, just major in math. They all win. Math majors win every time. Is that so weird?
It's true. It's very true. I also encourage students that if you're not sure, it's okay to go to a junior college. It's okay to get an associate's degree first. get those core courses out of the way, see how you feel, see what you're interested in, take a couple of electives, and nothing wrong with that track either.
Not
And
at all.
and there are some students that say, you know what, I just can't do another 4 years of school. That's fine too. Pick a trade. Be an electrician, be a plumber, do something. But I think it's really important for the parents to have those conversations with their kids. And I think that's where it's lacking. And I see so many students in college that are sitting there, not because they want to be there, but because their parents want them to be there. And that's the wrong reason to go. It's the wrong reason to spend money. I mean, when you think about it, like, this is your life. Like, take ownership of it, take accountability of it. Like, what do you want out of your life? And I
That's
think that's,
so hard for a 17-year-old,
yes,
particularly boy, to do. Their frontal lobe hasn't closed. I've got moms
yes,
calling me saying, I don't want to have the counselor, the college counselor talk. I want to have the mom to mom talk. Ricky's not ready. He's not ready. He doesn't clean his room. He hasn't done anything that you asked him to do. He's not on top of it. The teacher loses all his homework. Oh my God, what is he going to do? I will tell you, 50% of the time he will rise to the occasion. And 50% of the time, you might need to take a gap year. My
mhm.
son hated school. He could fix anyone's car. He hated school. He went to the Marine Corps. I am so proud of him. I just saw him for the first time in months. That
Oh
boy is
wow.
training people on the range. He is fit as a fiddle. He loves his community. He's living in Southern California. That he will have a job for the rest of his life. He already re-enlisted, right? And he can maybe
Mhm.
go to school on their dime. If not, his kids' college will mostly be covered. It was just a
Mhm.
great long-term decision for him, because when I said, why do you want to go to college? He was like, isn't it what you do next? No, not at
No,
$50,000 a year. It's not.
exactly. And I think that that's so great for you to be able to, like, know that about your child and listen to that. And like you said, most of the time they'll step up. The reason he doesn't clean up his room is because probably you're still cleaning it for him. Maybe if you stop doing it, he might actually do it and be like, oh my gosh, I have no clothes. Maybe I should do laundry. They'll figure it out.
Or send him to boot camp, man. Cole came back like nice square corners on the bed. Totally weird. But
Oh,
I will.
love it.
Yeah, it was cool. Now when he's with me for a long time, he goes right back to still being a jerk. But he's a boy. Gosh, I love it. I
And
love
that's
what he's
just
doing
moments
and
there.
everything. Yeah, of course, we enable it. Here's another really interesting thing, because I love the name of your podcast. So my daughter got sick in college, and
Oh my
I had
gosh.
done this because it's my business. But you get sick, you go to the hospital, you're over 18, they don't care. Your parents can't call. They're not going to tell your parents anything. You are an adult, whether you're ready to be or not. So you have
Absolutely.
to have the HIPAA forms signed. I've had other, so I could call and say, no, she's allergic to this or that. Let me talk to her. They were giving me reports. I was getting texts as she was going through the process, because I have medical power of attorney, right? And she signed the things over. Also, I've had parents go, I don't even know how my son is doing in school. It was such a surprise when he failed out. You you have them sign over the ability for you to get into the system, for you to be able to look at their
I
grades.
was
It's
gonna
not
say,
from
so the same way they have the HIPAA laws for medical, for education, it's the FERPA laws. So
there you go.
your child has to authorize you to speak on their behalf, where you can't talk to financial aid, you can't talk to admissions, you can't talk to
Yeah.
anyone. So that's definitely a huge, huge important piece for your student going away.
I
I
mean, you
was so
can
proud.
yell, I'm paying, you have to tell me this. They do not
No,
care.
they
They
do
are
not.
adult.
Yeah. Yeah, once they're 18. And that's the sad thing, is that they are 18. They are adults. And we hope that, like, what we've brought to the table up until this point in time is going to help them to get out, cross fingers, exactly, that they will listen, hear us in the back of their heads going, yep, I remember this, mom said this, but dad said this, whatever the case is. But the end of the day, 18, we can't do anything for them. We're
Right.
not allowed to speak on their behalf anymore. So that's really important, to make sure that you are authorized to speak for their medical care, for their education, because other than that, you won't get any answers at all. And that could be very frustrating as a parent.
Yes, very, very frustrating. It's all these
Mhm.
acronyms, SAT, ACT, FERPA, FAFSA,
Mhm.
all of the letters, HIPAA,
Mhm.
but it's an alphabet soup and you really want to understand it.
Yeah, it's um, definitely a lot of information. Where can my listeners find you?
Well, I hope that everyone will find me on TikTok at College
Perfect.
Sharks. I do a series called I Heard That, and it's called Bullshit from the Parent Sidelines because of all the rumors that get started sitting on the sidelines as your kids are playing ball. Kids are getting free rides, they're really not. So and so got a 1580 on his SAT, probably got like a 1320, mom just forgot. So that's kind of funny. So TikTok at College Sharks. And our one-on-one consulting is Annapolis College Consulting, but for families that want to do it on their own and figure it out, I get it. I get it. We have collegesharks.com, and it's a couple videos we drop every month. It's me trying to be funny and very short 8 to 10 minute videos, so you know what to do, when to do it, why it's important, and oh yeah, there's a workbook. So those of us like Gen X, we love a workbook, and that'll
And
help you help.
definitely put a little bit of humor into it too.
Oh yeah, I try to be so
You
funny.
have
So
to have
please
it.
tell me I'm funny. Please, as it's a stressful situation. So
Oh, it
I
can
try to
be,
lighten it up.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Lee. Um, College Shark, it's great. It's a lot of information. So definitely check it out. Be open to learning, be open to listening, ask questions. What more do you want to know? Visit my website at www.your18nowwhat.com and drop me a line. Send a question or a comment, and any questions will be responded to by either email or addressed on the next podcast. Remember, be invaluable for what you share, not what you know. See you next time on You're 18 Now What, where you could always find the latest podcasts to listen to, follow, share, and subscribe. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate you. Thank you.